Competitive forces.
Key thought leader, Michael Porter, 1979. Porter promoted a process of analyzing industries based on 5 forces that effectively describe each industry's basic competitive structure and subsequent attractiveness for a given firm: the bargaining power of buyers, the bargaining power of suppliers, the threat of new entrants into the industry, the threat of substitute products, and the resulting dynamics of competitive rivalry among existing firms. 9 The sum of these 5 forces provides insights into the competitive intensity and associated opportunity inherent in that industry. A relatively lower collective strength represents a greater opportunity for a firm to achieve long-term profitability. Porter emphasized that while all of the forces are important components of the total competitive picture, particular forces may be more or less salient in one industry as compared to another. Key to a firm's success is the ability not only to accurately assess and deeply understand the nature, extent, and sources of the 5 forces in a given industry, but also to be in a position to leverage and influence the forces to the firm's advantage as well. Different buyer groups exert different levels of influence on the overall profitability of an industry by demanding lower prices, preferential terms, or increased quality of the seller's products and services. A particular buyer group's power is increased if they represent a relatively large percentage of a seller's, or industry's, total sales, if there is evidence or likelihood of the buyer being able to leverage backward integration to obtain their goods, or if switching costs to move to another supplier are low. Similar in concept, though with opposite effect, to the buyer's power, suppliers can also exert their competitive influence by increasing prices or decreasing product quality. A supplier's power is increased when they are one of only a few supplier options, if they sell to a variety of industries, so as to not be beholden to any one industry, or if a buyer would experience significant switching costs to move to another supplier. It should also be noted that organized labor and government often represent powerful supplier sources in many industries. Industries that are characterized by high entry costs and other barriers to entry or profitability can discourage the introduction of new competitors, thus strengthening the opportunity for incumbent firms. Potential entrants consider many aspects of entry barriers when considering a move into the industry, including startup capital requirements and sources, probable competitive responses, impact of economies of scale and experience curves, availability of distribution channels, relative importance of product differentiation for competitive success, potential switching costs, and impact of governmental regulation. The availability of viable substitute products can be a powerful force for a given industry, impacting the prices it can command and the associated quality and characteristics of the products it produces. The power of substitute products produced by other industries is increased when the price-performance improvements of the substitute product is exceeding that of the industry's product, when buyer switching costs are minimal, and when the substitute-producing industries are earning higher profits, thus cushioning the impact of potential price reductions on the substitute. The actions, and counteractions, of competitors within an industry represent a powerful and ongoing competitive force. Porter points out that these dynamics may have a negative impact on the industry as a whole and individual competitors, for example, in the case of a price-slashing war, or may result in a positive impact on the overall industry. For example, a flurry of matched advertising attracts net new demand for the industry's products, thus benefiting all competitors. Some dynamics that tend to lead to decreased intra-industry rivalry include having a small number of competitors, relative power patterns are better understood and more stable with fewer competitors, rapid industry growth. Everyone is expanding with the industry as opposed to at each other's expense, higher switching costs, and greater product differentiation, as opposed to commodity products. Porter's competitive forces model provides a framework upon which firms can match their own strengths and weaknesses to the structure of an industry of interest and effectively alter that structure over time by capitalizing on the weaker industry forces, increasing entry barriers, and managing the relative influence of buyers and suppliers. Limitations of the competitive forces model. Porter's industry-based business strategy perspectives were revolutionary at the time and remain important components of strategic thought today. However, although it is recognized that industry structure can be an important determinant of business success, it is not universally accepted as the major or necessarily primary determinant of firm performance. For example, Rumelt found that firm-specific differences at the business unit level had a much larger and more stable effect on firm performance than either industry or corporate, parent company, level effects. 10 other researchers have raised similar concerns regarding the true performance impact of industry-level factors 11 and have found at least equivalent support for the importance of firm-level factors. 12 There is also the question of whether Porter's 5 forces model adequately identifies all of the important competitive forces related to a firm's environment. For instance, what about the impact of institutional or regulatory forces on a firm's strategic options and decisions?